Hello, Gamescom. I'm Tim Morton from the Starcraft II development team, and we've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to delve into the final chapter of the Starcraft II trilogy, Legacy of the Void, and we're going to check out our new gameplay mode, Allied Commanders, for the first time. It's a co-op mode against AI, and it is great. Stick around.
That's right, we have a lot to talk about, and joining us right now, we have Tim Morton, who we just all introduced in the video, as well as David Kim, the senior game designer of StarCraft II. How's it going, Tim? How's Gamescom so far?
It's been fantastic. It's really an exciting show to be here in person.
And David, how about you?
Yeah, there's so much going on, and just seeing the excitement from the crowd is so amazing, so it's really fun to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, people here are really excited to try it out, Legacy of the Void. They're playing it here at the booth, and of course everyone at home is super excited about it as well because of the campaign and the story. It all continues, it all comes together. Maybe just give us a quick overview on that story we're going to see in Legacy of the Void.
Absolutely. So Legacy of the Void is the culmination of the entire StarCraft II trilogy, really the entire 17 years of storytelling that is StarCraft. This installment is obviously focused on the Protoss. You'll be playing as Artanis, leader of the unified Protoss. You've got a huge challenge on your hands. There is this ancient evil in the universe known as Amon, and you've got to retake your homeworld, rally the Protoss together, and figure out how to vanquish Amon. This is really a big moment for StarCraft.
Yeah, on top of being able to wrap up the other storylines, right? If people want to know what's going on with Raynor and Kerrigan, as well as their respective races in Terran and Zerg.
Yeah, that's right. We will go back to Raynor and Kerrigan's story, and no spoilers, but I think fans are going to be super excited.
Ooh, okay. Well, I definitely can't wait to do it. What kind of new characters will we be able to also see, Tim, be weaved into the stories here?
There are a number of new Protoss characters in particular, since this is the Protoss installment. Rohanna, for example, a Grand Purifier who kind of has all of the history of the Protoss in her memory, and she's a very key character who we'll see introduced and play throughout the story.
That's awesome.
So actually I want to know, like, maybe from you, David Kim, what's your favorite character which has been introduced so far? Do you actually have favorites in the universe, or?
So if I say the name, I think that might spoil some stuff.
Then let's go for your second favorite.
I guess there's a character called Alarak. He's a very different type of Protoss than you've ever encountered, so you can definitely look forward to seeing him in Legacy of the Void.
All right.
That's awesome. Now, of course, with Legacy of the Void, the big hot topic here at Gamescom was the newly introduced Allied Commander mode. Can you guys go ahead and talk a little bit about what it is, how the inception came to be in terms of the idea, because it is a little different from what you guys have been doing the previous two installments of StarCraft II, Tim?
Sure. So Allied Commanders mode is a co-op mode, but it's co-op against AI. So these are kind of more similar to campaign missions in that you have objectives. You'll choose a commander from a variety of characters within the StarCraft universe. And as you play that commander, they will level up. Each commander's got a very distinct gameplay style. So as commanders level up, they unlock new units, new abilities, and this just makes you more and more potent on the battlefield. Okay,
and then so David, why Allied Commander mode, though? Because it is something that is different in terms of change of pace. I've seen a little bit in previous custom maps back in the day with like Left to Die, but why Allied Commander, do you?
So we felt that StarCraft II has this perception, especially with the multiplayer part of the game, where it's this competitive, very draining, time investment needed type of game. So we wanted to introduce this mode so that it's a more accessible way to play StarCraft II. So instead of you going up against other players, it's you and a friend playing against the AI. So you can choose your own difficulties. And I think we saw here today at the convention center too, we saw brand new players playing with their friends, and one player is necessarily not doing everything that he should be because he's obviously new to the game, but at the same time his friend can help him out using these co-op mechanics within this mode. So we feel like this is a brand new way to just repeatably play multiplayer in a completely new way.
It definitely is a very different experience, and we had a show match actually going on stage as well where people played it. Now, Tim, what do you feel is the most important aspect of Allied Commanders?
It's definitely teamwork. You know, to win these missions, to overcome the objectives in each mission, you've got to work together. There are a number of abilities that each commander has that will help your teammate, but it's also about building up a big enough army, communicating so that you know when to back up your teammate to overcome an objective. I guess one example of an ability that's cooperative, Artanis has a shield ability that he can call down that actually shields not just his own units and his own structures, but also the other players. So if you time that just right, that can really help you on a push, or it can also help you defensively.
What kind of missions did you guys have available for Gamescom? And I mean, what kind of type of missions are you looking for that would differentiate from the campaign, for example? Because this feels more of that type of category as opposed to the multiplayer that other players might be familiar with Starcraft II, David.
So we initially started by porting over some of the mechanics from the campaign because we felt like that's a good start. But obviously, mission mechanics in Allied Commanders won't be just limited to those things. But what we're showing here at Gamescom this week are 2 missions. First is called Oblivion Express. It's a train mission. I don't know if you guys remember from Wings of Liberty.
That's right.
Trains are passing by, and you're trying to kill these trains before they arrive to the endpoint. And the second type of map is Void Thrashing. It's a map where Void Thrashers come up at random points of the map, and they attack Sergeant Hammer's base. And you and your ally, the goal is to protect that base by going out and killing these Void Thrashers.
Yeah, I do remember that campaign mission. I got a lot of anxiety. It's like the north route, no, the south one, no, the north, no, the south. And I wasn't too good with the Diamondbacks just yet, but that was definitely a memorable one. Really cool stuff indeed.
Yeah, I would actually like to get some more insight about the different commanders in that game. Maybe, Dave, you want to share some?
Sorry, different...
Commanders?
Commanders,
yeah.
So here at Gamescom, you have 3 commanders, Raynor, Kerrigan, and Artanis. Raynor is obviously the infantry-based, pretty standard Terran commander. And his ability is, while playing with your army, he can also call down his capital ship, the Hyperion, into battle. So some cool things you can do is, not only can you just call down the Hyperion in a pinch, but also, if you see that your ally is getting attacked, or he's trying to attack into a little bit of a stronger position than he could afford to handle, you can actually call it down like anywhere on the map to help him out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then Kerrigan is a playable hero on the map, just like the Heart of the Swarm campaign. So that's very familiar to players who have played Heart of the Swarm before. And Artanis will be very similar to the Legacy of the Void campaign Artanis, in that he has access to these Spear of Adun powers that he can call down to help out your allies, or to just destroy locations using abilities such as Orbital Strike.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, and the focus is really to make sure that it has a lot of replayability, right? And you're talking about how people would stay engaged through those upgrades, and then you'll be able to add on more of these kinds of missions in the future, Tim, correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We're showing off the 2 maps that David mentioned here, along with the 3 commanders, but at launch, we're going to grow that both in terms of maps and commanders, and we've got more plans ahead.
Totally looks cool. And, having the opportunity to check it out, too, was really nice as well, Zoe.
Definitely. But another mode we can actually also talk about is the Archon mode. Maybe run us quickly through what the Archon mode actually is for the people who are not familiar with it yet.
Sure, absolutely. So Archon mode is a competitive mode, whereas Allied Commanders was just co-op against AI. Now you're playing cooperatively against another pair of co-op players. It's kind of like the 1v1 experience, because you just have one base and one army, but you can divide up the responsibilities, and it really provides a new way to play StarCraft multiplayer.
And the entire purpose of this is to share the experience, so that way, you can have people who don't have the same exact skill level compete and then even learn, right? Dave, you're telling me about some of the coaching possibilities with Archon mode.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great mode for introducing your friend to StarCraft II PvP, because for me personally, what I've been doing is I would try to locate people who haven't really played StarCraft II multiplayer that much, or just brand new people to the game, and I could go into the game, just do maybe 95% of the things that I would do in a 1v1, but just give him a slight task that he can master. And over time, after he gets comfortable with that, I can give him more and more things until he's confident enough to play 1v1 on his own.
That really makes it so much easier to be in coach, because so far when I ask people to, like, give me feedback, they watch my replays and we're like, yeah, like at minute 5 you should have done that. Well, it's not really quite the same as if you're actually in-game having someone like, hey, stop doing that, do this instead. So that's really a big possibility for new players.
You also don't know the development of how things will go, right?
Yeah,
at the highest level, people want to be able to see that cool micro, that parting in life, and these other really awesome players achieve. But it's like you can never do that. But if you have 2 people helping you, perhaps you can even explore that even more. And that's part of the excitement of Archon mode, that you can see the pro players and be able to try to mimic them as best as you can. Isn't that correct, David?
Yeah, for sure. We see tournaments that are happening these days. For example, the Red Bull Archon mode tournaments. And I think the funniest thing for me is I watch StarCraft 2 in Heart of the Swarm right now, and I think, man, this player is really playing perfectly. But when I watch Archon mode and see players like really focusing on specific parts of the game, I see that the potential for mastery is much higher than what I'm currently aware of. So I'm really looking forward to see not just the potential for Archon mode in Legacy of the Void, but also what the 1v1 players take away from Archon mode and incorporate that into their games.
Yeah. We had an opportunity to see Archon mode be even tested out here. And let's go ahead and check out the video to describe what Archon mode is for anybody who has not seen it yet.
You guys played the Archon mode. Maybe your first thoughts about it. How did you enjoy it?
It's definitely interesting having to split the task between 2 players. Since he's mainly a Zerg player, I let him do most of the stuff, but I was able to help with like inject, creep spread, and some of the micro.
I think the Archon mode is great, actually. I think it's a very, very good idea, and it's fun to play.
How nice is it to actually have someone helping out with those things?
It's really good because you can just accomplish more things at once than you could by playing alone. So yeah, I think it's really good.
So what do you think is the most fun race to play in Archon mode?
I think Zerg might be very good because I was thinking of like creep spread, overlords. There's like so many small things you can do better as a Zerg player, and I think if you have a second one, should be brilliant. I think.
I think Terran has the most potential, so I would say Terran because you can just drop everywhere.
Most fun to play in Arkham are probably Terran because of the medivac boost and siege tank thing that's happening right now.
So I see you guys agree on that. That's why you work well as a team. So thanks a lot for joining me for the interview, and have a great day at GamesCom.
Pretty awesome to see Hasuabs and Sokka make a return. They've been playing a lot of heroes and now enjoying some StarCraft II Archon mode. That's what we hope to see the players be able to do. But I do want to point out, of course, the Protoss players say that the Zerg and the Terran races will be better in Archon mode. I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. It's never the race that they play.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Is that right, David?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we know we do have a lot to talk about Archon mode. The one thing I do want to ask before we close this topic is, can we expect even more competition to be driven in there? For example, a 1v1 ladder, or even the ladder, excuse me, not, it wouldn't be 1v1, it'd be 2v2.
Yeah, so we're considering things like maybe adding Grandmaster to Archon mode or adding automated tournaments to Archon mode and things like that. But we really want to focus on getting the feature out there first. So maybe it's something that we can discuss post-launch or something like that.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Right. But let's not forget about the actual competitive mode, 1v1. You guys have some new stuff in store for us there as well. Maybe share some thoughts on that.
Absolutely. There are a bunch of new units in PvP that we've introduced in the beta for Legacy of the Void. We've also got automated tournaments that we're going to be rolling out into the beta in the next month. So players will have a chance to check that feature out ahead of the launch as well.
That's right. The automated tournaments, let's talk a little bit about that. How's that actually going to function, David, when it rolls out into the game?
Yeah, so the main thing that we wanted to hit was we wanted everyone to be able to experience that competitive tournament-like experience, no matter your skill level. And we wanted people to play at a very competitive level. So what we're working on currently is the matchmaker for the automated tournaments. And once we're ready with that, that's when we'll release the feature to the beta. But the two main formats that we're considering for the initial launch is a short format that anyone can just jump on and play if they have an hour or hour and a half to spare. And this one will just be a simple eight-man single elimination bracket play tournament. But the second format is a little more interesting because it's group stage into bracket play. And this one, we really wanted to hit that fantasy of playing in a StarCraft II tournament because, as you guys know, most tournaments out there these days in StarCraft II use that group stage to bracket play format. But these, because they will be much longer, maybe 3 to 4 hours per tournament, we want to locate specific times, maybe 2 or 3 times during weekends only, to roll them out that way.
Wow, that's really awesome. Yeah, you're playing in a WCS or GSL format. I want to be able to compete in that. I do have a follow-up question. Is it a best of 1, and then you just win and you go through the single elimination bracket in the group stage?
Yeah, for now, we're thinking best of 1, mostly because of the timing issue, because per round, if we did a best of 3, it's going to be around 1.5 hours versus best of 1s are only 30 minutes. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, what a great opportunity for all those players. I really like that.
Yeah, to put up or shut up also sometimes. You know, they rage a little bit and, all right, queue up in the tournament with me, bro.
Now, let's talk a bit about, like, you know, with the new expansions, they're coming new, characters and everything. But what about the balancing there? How much balancing and rebalancing had to be done to make it work?
We're definitely still in the process on that, and really David leads the charge, so I should pass it over to David to talk about how he handles it.
Yeah, so for the multiplayer beta balance, I just wanted to talk about 2 main things. The first is the macro mechanics being cut, something that we've been discussing with our community over the last week or so. And I'd first like to thank everyone for giving us the feedback on both the pros and cons of potentially cutting this mechanic. And what we've kind of decided internally is we'd like to really try out in the next balance update how the game plays if we were to remove these macro mechanics from the game. And the reason for that is because we can theory craft all day, but it's really difficult to figure out exact and specific reasons why these mechanics are good or bad for the game. So we really want to identify those things. And the one other thing that I like to point out is, as many of you guys in the community have pointed out also, is we have increased the difficulty of not just the micro in the game, but also the macro as well. So because of things like resource changes, now you have to spread out your bases and expand more aggressively, which means you have to manage multiple bases at once. And not only that, because of how the resourcing actually works in Legacy of the Void, you got to check back at each of those locations and manage the probes and worker lines a lot more efficiently as well. So our current thinking is that because we made it a little more difficult on this side, even if we take away a little bit from the macro mechanics, we wonder if the end result is that it's a very skillful macro experience for players.
It's going to definitely change the game a lot. I mean, people were already really surprised we were willing to change the worker count in the beginning, some of the minerals, and now you guys are shaking up the macro even more. I'm looking forward to see it to it. But that's not the only changes. There's also some units that are also going to be introduced to the expansion. Let's go ahead and take a step back. There's some people who are like really in tune on the competitive side, but what are some of the new units you guys are introducing to this expansion that you're really excited about?
Personally, I'm excited about every single unit that we're introducing. We have 2 new units per race, which players can easily check out in the beta. But the one unit that I really want to talk more about is the Disruptor. It's the one unit that we're not happy with in the beta, in the current version. Right now, the unit becomes invulnerable, and then it attacks, and it becomes invulnerable again. So it doesn't have a lot of the micro on both sides that we wanted to have. So we're thinking about redesigning this unit. So we've been trying out so many different ideas, both from the community and both from internal employees. And where we landed is this new redesigned version of the Disruptor. What it does is the Disruptor itself is never invulnerable. Instead, it shoots out this effect that deals heavy damage after a few seconds. But the cool thing about this Disruptor is that we carried over the main cool factor of the Disruptor in the beta right now, which is depending on how the enemy micros, you can actually control this damaging effect to hit and micro accordingly. So you actually get micro on both sides, which is one of the main goals for this unit. And on top of that, we feel like we've addressed the downside of the current Disruptor, which is now there's so many choices as a player playing against the Disruptor in terms of what you can do. For example, when the Disruptor activates this ability, the Disruptor becomes immobile and can't move. So the enemy can now choose to just rush this Disruptor and kill it, making the damaging effect to fizzle and deal no damage. So the positioning of the Disruptor becomes way more important than it is now. And because the choices that either player can do is much greater, we feel like this is a very strong version of Disruptor that we'd like to try out in the next beta update.
That's intense, man. I was just like thinking about all those small complications. I look forward to see how the casters will explain all of that in 15 seconds while going crazy. Definitely going to be awesome. How about the other units, Tim? Are you guys happy with like the Ravager, the Adept, everything else that's being introduced into the game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ravager, Lurker, both very popular additions. Adept is another great unit. I think across the board, there's a lot of exciting additions, and we still have some balancing work to do ahead, but we're in a period where we can still try some big things before we really try to just iterate, refine. So it's an exciting time.
All right. Well, I'm pretty satisfied with those answers, though.
Oh,
what about
so
you?
am I. I learned so much today. I'm as happy as can get. And I mean, I really like looking at the show floor. You probably saw the people as well playing the game. They loved it. It was so much fun to watch them playing Allied Commanders, yelling at each other during the process of that, and watching the show matches on stage has been an absolute blast. So I really want to thank you guys for coming here and shedding some more light and insight on the progress of Legacy of the Void. It's been really a pleasure having you here.
That's right. But before we go, of course, we do have some fan questions that want to talk about more things. Actually, I'm told that we don't have some questions at the moment. So let's go ahead and just
I'm pretty sure we covered everything already.
Yeah,
so
well,
like they're basically out of questions because we covered all the grounds.
Okay,
so we're good to go. We're good to go. You guys gave splendid answers. So there shouldn't be any open questions anymore.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, guys. And we'll definitely look forward to see what's going to be coming for the future of Legacy of the Void. Keep working hard, David. I'm sure everyone continues to appreciate your openness to the community.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.